Deputy High Commissioners, Mr. Qadri, please. My name is Rashid Ahmed. I'm a barrister at 2 King's Bench Walk Chambers, and the Chambers, as I said a few moments ago, Chambers of Mr. Qadri. We are all here today to commemorate the life and work of Mr. Iqbal Haider. As you all know, he was a senior advocate at the Supreme Court of Pakistan. He was also the co-chairman of the Human Rights Commission of Pakistan, Senator, Federal Minister of Law, Justice and Affairs, and the Attorney General. He was a courageous, outspoken critic of the Army's involvement and interference in Pakistani politics. He held a number of positions in various organizations, and I don't want to go into his political career. More importantly, as we all know, human rights was his great passion. I've had the pleasure to have met him on a number of occasions over the last 3-4 years when he visited our chambers at 6 King's Bench Walk, which are now 2 King's Bench Walk. Unfortunately, I was unable to meet him this summer when he visited the United Kingdom, as I was involved in a case. As you will all agree, Mr. Iqbal Haider has left a huge vacuum in this world, which will be very difficult to fill. As lawyers, my view is the best tribute we can pay to him is to continue what he has done, and as lawyers to defend poor people, the disadvantaged people of our society, be it in the United Kingdom or in Pakistan. Many of you here today would have known him much better than I did. Many people will be speaking today, and the Deputy High Commissioner will also be addressing everyone today. And I now hand you over to Mr. Qadri.
I never thought that a day will come that I shall be speaking about the demise of a very good friend of mine, but a younger person than me. Very young man compared to me, only 67 years old. Iqbal Haider came to this country recently in summer. He visited me, visit my chamber. He was somebody who had high position. Rashid told me, you all know, minister, senator, attorney general, member of Sindh Red Cross, all kind of positions he had. But then in '85, he resigned from People's Party. He resigned because of one reason, not because he was angry with People's Party or anything, because he was concentrating on human rights. And he made an example that if you are striving for the rights of poor people, then sometime you will become in conflict with the government, with the politicians, and you can't be really genuine unless you are neutral, unless you are away from it all. And in his last days, he even separated from his old friend and my old friend, Etizaz Ahsan, and Asma Jahangir on the question of this movement, writing a letter to Switzerland, etc. Iqbal Haider, as Rashid said, has left a vacuum. He had a passion for human rights. He was somebody who will fight cases in Supreme Court without fees, pro bono. The fishermen from India who were languishing in Pakistani prison, like many fishermen of Pakistan who still languish in the prison of India. Forgotten people. He fought for their release successfully. Similarly, he was, like me, like you all, or better than me, a Muslim. But a Muslim does not have to be Islamic fundamentalist. A Muslim means believing in Allah. A Muslim means believing in Prophet Muhammad. A Muslim means believing in the kindness and mercy of Allah. A Muslim doesn't mean to go after a little Christian girl and get her death sentence, accuse her falsely of blasphemy. In our country, the law of blasphemy, Ziaul started misuse of it, graduated it from 2 years to death sentence, and has been misused. We all respect our Prophet, we love him, but it's an insult to our Prophet to use his name to punish minorities, to punish innocent people. Iqbal Haider fought it. He was a secular man, like Syed was secular. He wanted equal rights to everybody in Pakistan. And recently, in Karachi, he had a meeting where the MQM and everybody else, they were all there for Qaeda Pakistan, not for Taliban. He was somebody who was rightly given a prize, Mother Teresa Prize, the big prize of global peace. He wanted peace between India and Pakistan. He wanted friendship in South Asia. And I can keep on talking about it. Therefore, we assemble here today to remember him. In fact, I said, when somebody said, what? Really, he is gone. He is in somewhere better place. But today, we celebrate his life. We just not only mourn him, but celebrate. Celebrate his life, celebrate his work. He was an honorable man. He was somebody, as Rashid said, who fought for disadvantaged people, and will be paying greatest tribute to him if we fight for disadvantaged. We lawyers in this country, because there are problems in this country, the minority problem, the black people, the Asian people, the discrimination, the disadvantaged people are here. We fight for them, we work hard for their betterment in this country. And of course in Pakistan and third world, there is a denial of human rights right and left. There is minorities in Pakistan who are being abused. We should fight for them. We should from here struggle. And therefore our UK Lawyers Committee for Human Rights and Justice, we work closely with the Human Rights Commission of Pakistan. And we invite you to work closely to eradicate, irrespective of our political differences. We should all unite one, that all Pakistanis must have equal rights. There should be no discrimination against any Pakistani because he is a Hindu, he is a Christian, he is any other religion. We are all brothers, we are all Pakistanis. And we are Syed Iqbal Khan to come and say a few.
Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know why I have been asked to say a few words, except that Senator Iqbal Haider was someone who should be remembered by all those who care for human rights, who care for peace, who care for development of a society where we all share the good values that we cherish. For example, I remember in the early 1990s when we were campaigning for abolition of bonded labor system in Pakistan, Iqbal Haider spoke for reform of the law. He spoke against blasphemy laws. And whenever there was a debate in the parliament, his contribution was a positive, constructive contribution. Let me tell you that the Bonded Labour System Abolition Act 1992 was an act which brought freedom to a lot of bonded workers, millions. And people like Iqbal Haider have not only just contributed towards specific human rights issues, but issues of regional peace. He had a pleasant personality. He believed in dialogue. He believed in interaction. He was a good parliamentarian. He always made constructive and positive contribution. For example, reform of legislation, new legislation, constitutional reform, legislation which aimed at equality of justice, for example. I did not know him personally, and I will just say that there are people in this world who come and go. There are the mighty, the wealthy, the powerful, but they are not remembered. Inventors, scientists, legislators, human rights activists, civil rights activists, those are the kind of people that we remember and we should remember. And Iqbal Haider was one of them. Life is a cycle of birth and death. But the work of a person, the contribution they make to the development of a good, human, values-oriented human race is important, and that is what he did. With these words I conclude. Thank you.
Mr. Dashari to compare himself.
I was lucky enough to know Iqbal Haider for a very long time. I think I was a beneficiary of his defense as well, because I was haunted by Ziaul Haq in 80s and mid-80s. I think, as everybody has said before me, to remember people like Iqbal Haider, the best way is to carry on the work which they have left when they died. And I think it is our duty to carry on the work on not only human rights, but equality and other commitments which Iqbal Haider stood for. Can I thank Qadri Saab and his lawyer committee for organizing this memorial meeting. I was speaking to another meeting a couple of days back, and somebody said we always remember dead. We don't appreciate the living people. I think Iqbal Haider was someone whom we recognized and appreciated while he was living. I met him in Karachi, and I think if I can see there are many people sitting here from Karachi, from Liari to other areas. So can I tell you that he was hosting a dinner for the people who were celebrating 30 years of pilot. I don't know how many people here know what is pilot. Few people. So pilot is Pakistan Institute for Education and Research for Labour. It is an institute which has been working there for 30 years, and Karamat Ali, the executive director, has sent his condolences. He couldn't make it today, otherwise he would have been here today. And it was a dinner hosted for the guests, and I was one of them, in Karachi in Boat Club, which is a very famous for people who are secular and Muslim, but also have a life apart from very, very rigid Muslim, a very liberal life. So he invited us there, and I remember there were about 50 people, and he was speaking with a passion about his life, his work, not only as a barrister, lawyer, and a senator, and minister, and chairman of many organizations which have been mentioned by Barrister Rashid, but he was speaking of his commitment to the poor, to the forgotten people, to the downtrodden people, and as Qadri Sahib has said, he always took the cases of those people free of cost, up to Supreme Court, not only in the lower courts, but up to very high cases. And one case which he always was very proud of was Habib Jalib's case. And I met him in London many times when Qadri Sahib Habib Jalib was here, and he hosted Habib Jalib on Edgware Road, and Habib Jalib used to call me at midnight and says, this Iqbal Haider has put me in prison in London, Mushtaq Lashari, can you rescue me? I don't want to live in such a wonderful flat. I want to live in area where I can see my own people, my poor people. And I think he was always for rule of law, and we should all Pakistanis, whether we live in Pakistan, whether we live in Middle East or in Western world or developed world, we should work for the rule of law, for not only rich and top people who can get away with anything in the world anywhere, but we should work for those who cannot get away for the minor crimes sometimes they commit because of their necessity or other things. And we should always remember Iqbal Haider and other people who have worked for them and have worked for equality, tolerance and fairness in the societies wherever they work. Thank you very much.
Can I ask Mr. Habib Jalib to come and say a few words?
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Maybe I speak English, but I don't think so. My vocabulary is too high, or maybe can I use some words from Mr. Iqbal Haider, who I would like to say some in Urdu. شاید اقبال حیدر صاحب کی روح زیادہ مجھ سے خوش ہو، کیونکہ میں بینگ اے لیارین اور بینگ اے پیپلز پارٹی کے ورکر کے جب میں تھا، مجھے یہ بڑا آنر ہے کہ میں نے ان کے ساتھ ایز اے پریس سیکرٹری پیپلز پارٹی ڈسٹرکٹ ساؤتھ، پبلک ریلیشن آفیسر ڈسٹرکٹ ساؤتھ کام کیا. اقبال حیدر صاحب کے بال کرل تھے جو جنہوں نے دیکھا ہے تو لیاری والے محبت سے کہتے تھے سفید مکرانی، وہ بڑا خوش ہوتے تھے. تو شاید لاشاری صاحب نے جو جالب صاحب کی ایگزامپل کوٹ کی کہ وہ وہاں سے نکل کے اپنے لوگوں میں جانا چاہتے تھے، تو شاید یہی وجہ ہو کہ اقبال صاحب نے ان سے سیکھا ہو کہ غریبوں کے ساتھ کس طرح رہا جاتا ہے. آئی فاؤنڈ ہم ویری کائنڈ. اور پیپلز پارٹی کے صدر بہت آتے رہے کراچی میں. ایک دور ہمیں یاد تھا یہاں ایک صدر بیٹھے ہوئے اور بھی امیر قاضی صاحب، ان کا بڑا پیار تھا ورکر کے ساتھ. ان کے بعد جب قاضی صاحب چلے گئے صدارت سے تو ورکرز بڑے اپنے آپ کو لونلی محسوس کرتے تھے. اقبال حیدر صاحب نے اس ویکیوم کو پورا کیا، اور میں نے پالیٹکس جب محترمہ سے سیکھی چھوٹے چھوٹے ایشوز کو کس طرح فالو اپ کرنا، چیز کرنا. اور اقبال حیدر صاحب وہ واحد ایسے پریزیڈنٹ تھے ہمارے کہ لیاری میں پانی کا مسئلہ ہو، اس زمانے میں پانی کی بڑی شارٹیج ہوا کرتی تھی. شارٹیج اب بھی ہے لیکن اب اتنی نہیں ہے. گٹر کا مین ہول کا مسئلہ ہو، اس زمانے میں اتنی کلنگ شاید نہیں ہوتی تھی. لیکن اقبال حیدر صاحب نے ایک کوالٹی تھی کہ ان کے جو ہاؤس تھا ہارون اینڈ حیدر کمپنی، وہ ڈاؤن ہاؤس میں تھا، ڈاؤن بلڈنگ میں، جہاں پہ انٹری بڑی مشکل ہوتی تھی. مطلب یو گو اینڈ میک اے پرچی اور انٹروڈکشن دس. اقبال صاحب وین ہی بیکیم اے پریزیڈنٹ، جو پہلا آرڈر انہوں نے پاس کیا کہ نو مور پرچی، نو مور سیکورٹی. اب ہارون بلڈنگ ظاہر ایک بیوروکریسی کا ایک بڑا اخبار ہے، ان کا اپنا مزاج اس طرح کا تھا. تو پیپلز پارٹی کے پھر ورکر ہو، اقبال حیدر کوئی بھی محاذ پارٹی کے پریزیڈنٹ تو تھے نہیں، کارکنوں کا بڑا وہ، میں نے ان کو ایک بار جھگڑتے دیکھا. غالباً حمید ہارون صاحب تھے، انہوں نے تھریٹ کر دیا کہ بھائی آئی لیو یور آفس. لیکن وہ اچھی بات تھی. ایک دو باتیں اور تھی جو بہت اچھی بات تھی ان میں، وچ از آئی پراؤڈ کہ میں نے ان کے ساتھ کام کیا. وہ کرپشن فری انسان تھے. آج 18 کروڑ کے شہر میں، 18 کروڑ کے وطن میں کرپشن فری انسان نہیں ملتا، چاہے بڑی پارلیمنٹ ہو چاہے چھوٹی پارلیمنٹ ہو. لوگ ڈھونڈتے ہیں کہ کوئی ایسا بندہ ملے کہ جس نے، واقعہ سناتا ہوں، یہ ان کی انسلٹ نہیں ہے، یہ ان کا بڑا پن ہے. ان کا گھر کا بجلی کیسی والوں نے کاٹ دی. ایک بندہ سینیٹر بھی ہو، اتنا بڑا لائر بھی ہو. تو میرے لیے ایک اچھمبے کی بات تھی کہ یار اقبال صاحب کی بجلی کٹ گئی. تو میں نے، انہوں نے بلایا اپنے سیکرٹری کو، آئی تھنک مسٹر اعجاز، یس کہو بھائی، یہ ان کو اسٹائل تھا. تو میں نے والنٹری کا سر کنڈا لگوا دیتے ہیں. وہ کافی ناراض ہوئے کہ یار تم عجیب انسان ہو، بات کرتے ہو. تو لطیف مغل ہمارے ایک دوست ہیں، آج کل پیپلز پارٹی کے سیکرٹری اطلاعات ہیں، ہی واز دوز ڈیز سی بی اے سیکرٹری. تو کنڈا لگانا مطلب ایسے عام آدمی کے لیے اتنا ایزی ہے. تو سی بی اے کا بندہ ہو، کے سی کا، اور بڑا غصہ ہوئے. انہوں نے اعجاز کو کہا کہ یار ایم ڈی سے بات کرو، پارٹ پیمنٹ کراؤ، یہ کرو وہ کرو. انہوں نے کنڈا لگانے سے انکار کیا. یہ ان کا کریڈٹ تھا. اس زمانے میں پارلیمنٹرین اپنے ٹیلی فون کا کوٹا, وچ یو ریمبر اور ناٹ, دا ایم پی ایز 5, ایم این ایز 10 اور سینیٹر ایز 20 ٹیلی فون کوٹا. وہ کارکن کو پوچھتے تھے بھائی فون کس کے گھر نہیں ہے, جبکہ آئی ریمبر دوز ڈیز کے کوٹا بکا کرتا تھا. اور میں سکنگ جاری کے ورکروں کو جانتا ہوں کہ انہوں نے ٹیلی فون کا کوٹا انہیں دیا, وچ از آج کے دور میں یا تو مامے چاچے یا اپنے لوگ سمری بنتی ہے. آج منسٹر بندہ نہیں بنا تھا, اس نے سمری بنا کے اپنے گھر والوں کے پہلے پوسٹنگ کروا لی, اور بندے کی بھی ریٹائرمنٹ ایک محکمے سے ہونی تھی, اس نے ایک ہفتہ پہلے ڈیپوٹیشن کے آرڈر کروا لیے. ورکر کرائم کر رہے ہیں, سوسائڈ کر رہے ہیں. بہرحال اقبال حیدر ایک بڑا نام تھا. اور ایک اور بات بتاؤں, وہ اپنے پروفیشن میں بڑے ایکسپرٹ تھے اور لائل تھے. مجھے نہیں کہنا چاہیے لیکن آپ بی بی بھی اس دنیا میں نہیں رہی, اللہ انہیں گری کی رحمت کرے, اور اقبال صاحب بھی نہیں رہے, اللہ انہیں گری کی رحمت کرے. ایک زمانہ تھا کہ جب زرداری صاحب کے مقدمے لڑنے کے لیے لوگ ریڈی رہا کرتے تھے. آج کے ڈاکٹر ملک, ایوان, بابر, شابر وغیرہ وغیرہ جو وکیل تھے, چھوٹے موٹے وکالت نامہ ڈال کے بولتے تھے میں زرداری صاحب کا وکیل. ان کا نام تھا کیونکہ شہید نے, میری بہن, میری قائد نے پیپلز پارٹی چھوڑی, لیکن بہن تو بہن رہتی ہے. اقبال صاحب کو ریکویسٹ کی انہوں نے کہ اقبال صاحب آپ ڈیفینڈ کریں, تو انہوں نے کہا بی میری تو فیس ہوتی ہے. اب وہ یہ سب کے لیے بڑا حیران کن معاملہ تھا کہ زرداری صاحب کے جہاں کیس لڑنے کے لیے اتنے لوگ وکالت نامے جمع کرایا کرتے تھے, وہاں وہ بندہ اپنی فیس کی بات کر رہا تھا. تو کیونکہ پیپلز پارٹی میں یہ کلچر نہیں تھا, تو اقبال صاحب کا یہ میں بتانا چاہ رہا تھا کہ وہ اتنے لائل تھے کہ کرپشن ہوتی تو فیس نہیں مانگتے. شاید آج ڈاکٹر بابر ایوان نے پتہ نہیں بہت کچھ بنا لیا, وہ فیس نہ لے کر. اچھا ہوتا کہ کم وقت فیس لے لیتے تو آج ہماری جان پہ یہ عذاب نہ آتے. تو بہت سارے لوگوں نے فری مقدمے تو لڑے, لیکن اس کے بدلے جو انہوں نے کیا آج ملک کا حال آپ کے سامنے ہے. تو بہرحال اچھے لوگ بہت کم ہیں. اچھے لوگ اب وہ چراغ لیے بقول داؤد پوتا گورنر سنگھ کے, کہ جب میں نے احتساب کمیشن بنانا چاہا تو پورے سندھ میں انہیں 9 لوگ ملے, 9 انگلیوں پہ گن سکتے تھے. سندھ 6-7-5 کروڑ کی آبادی کا شہر ہے, ایک صوبہ ہے. پھر آپ چلے جائیں کہ آج اس قوم پہ کوئی اتفاق نہیں کہ ہمارا احتساب بیورو کا چیف کون ہوگا. تو اقبال حیدر صاحب نے کام اور بھی اچھا کیا تھا. یہ ابھی کی باتیں 19ویں-20ویں صدی کی نہیں ہیں کہ جب آسمان جہانگیر یا بابر وان جب پیسے بانٹ رہے تھے تو انہوں نے اسے بھی انکار کیا تھا. وہ آدمی زندگی بھر اپنے اصولوں پہ کھڑے رہے, اور مجھے خوشی ہے کہ میرا والد بہت ایماندار انسان تھا. اس کے انتقال کے بعد میں نے وعدہ کیا اپنے آپ سے کہ میں بھی اب کرپشن کروں گا. لیکن تھوڑا بڑا ہوا جب کالج لائف میں گئے تو مرحوم یونس رضوی مل گئے, کاظمی صاحب کے دوست, اسٹوڈنٹ ویلفیئر آفیسر خالد نہار میں. وہ بھی ہمیں ایماندار ملے. وہ لیبر انسپیکٹر تھے. 1-2 منٹ زیادہ لوں گا, بڑے لوگوں کی تعریف کرنے کا ملتی کم ہے. تو رضوی صاحب وہ کتابیں بانٹا کرتے تھے غریبوں کو. لیاری کو بڑی کتابیں ملی تو بڑا رول تھا ان کا. پھر میں لندن آ گیا. میں نے کہا ہوں سم کون پڑے گا, تو آپ جائیں گے, ڈسکو کریں گے, کرپشن کریں گے وغیرہ وغیرہ. میری بدقسمتی یہ رہی کہ یہاں آیا تو مسٹر قادری صاحب کا پڑوس مجھے مل گیا. یہ بھی اپنے اصولوں پہ اسٹینڈ لے کے بیٹھے ہوئے ہیں, اور آج مجھے فخر ہے. میں نہیں کہتا اپنی تعریف آپ کہ جب پیپلز پارٹی میں کنگلے کنگلے النگے تلنگے ملینر بلینر ہو گئے, اور ابھی جان آج پھر اپنی جگہ پہ کھڑا ہے صرف قادری صاحب کی وجہ سے. تو وہ کہتے ہیں کہ میاں سب کچھ ہو گیا, اب کما کے کیا کرو گے. لیکن میرا یقین ہے کہ جب آدمی کرپشن فری ہوتا ہے تو موت بھی بڑی شاندار ہوتی ہے. اقبال حیدر کی میرا یقین ہے کہ اقبال حیدر کراچی کا امن چاہتے تھے. آج یہاں پہ 2 میرے اور موجود دوست بڑے بھائی بیٹھے ہیں, سلیم شہزاد صاحب اور انور بھائی. میں بھی امن چاہتا ہوں, قادری صاحب بھی امن چاہتے ہیں. کراچی کا امن آرمی چیف, آپریشن, رینجرز, پولیس سے نہیں آ سکتا. اقبال حیدر بھی یہ کہتے تھے, قادری صاحب بھی یہ کہتے ہیں, میں بھی کہتا ہوں کہ امن اگر آئے گا تو کراچی کے اسٹیک ہولڈر اگر ریڈ ٹیبل پر آ جائیں گے. ایک کنواں ہے, اس کا پانی ہم مل کر تقسیم کر لیں. بلوچ کے حصے میں اگر 1 بالٹی آتی ہے تو ہم اس کا ایک بالٹی پہ مطمئن ہو جائیں گے. پٹھان کو اگر آدھی بالٹی آتی تو پٹھان آدھی بالٹی پہ مطمئن ہو جائیں گے. 2,70,000 آبادی کا جو شہر تھا کراچی, آج 2 کروڑ کا شہر ہے. اگر اس میں اگر حصہ متحدہ قومی موومنٹ کا زیادہ بنتا ہے تو میں آج آپ کے سامنے پھر اقبال حیدر کی روح کو خوش کرنے کے لیے کہتا ہوں کہ لیاری کی طرف سے میں ذمہ داری سے کہتا ہوں کہ اگر آپ کی قسمت میں اگر 5000 پارٹیاں آتی ہیں تو ہم اپنی ایک پارٹی پہ خوش ہیں, آپ اپنی 5000 پارٹی میں خوش ہو جائیں, لیکن ہم ٹیبل ٹاپ پر آ جائیں, کیونکہ کراچی اس وقت جل رہا ہے. اقبال حیدر صاحب بھی چاہتے تھے, آخری دنوں میں انہوں نے ایک میٹنگ بھی کی تھی, قادری صاحب کی بھی یہ خواہش ہے, انور صاحب کی بھی یہ خواہش ہے, سلیم صاحب ویسے میں ملا تھا جہاز میں, ہم نے یہی کہا تھا ہم الطاف بھائی کو بھی میسج دینا چاہتے ہیں, نہ ہم دہشت گرد تھے نہ ہم ہیں, نہ اردو بولنے والے دہشت گرد تھے نہ ہیں, صدیقی, رضوی, زیدی, زبیری سب علم تھا. ہمیں ہمارے تھوڑے سے باکسر ہیں جو چپڑاسی بن کر خوش ہیں, فٹ بالر ہیں جو پیون بن کر خوش ہیں, آئیں اقبال حیدر صاحب کی وجہ سے اور آج یو کے علاقوں کی وجہ سے ہم اس کام کو آگے بڑھائیں. پاکستان زندہ باد, کراچی.
خانی صاحب.
محترم قادری صاحب, حبیب جان صاحب نے بڑی تفصیلی بات کر لی, اور پھر قادری صاحب کا حکم بھی ہے کہ وقت جو ہے اس کی کمی ہے, تو میں صرف چند باتیں کہنا چاہتا ہوں کیونکہ یہ موقع ہے. اور کہ اقبال حیدر صاحب کے ساتھ میں نے اپنی اسکول کے زمانے سے ان کے ساتھ میں رہا, اور اسکول کے زمانے سے ہی NSF میں ہم ساتھ ہوا کرتے تھے, ہمارے سینئر تھے. اس کے بعد وہ قومی محاذ آزادی میں چلے گئے اور اس معراج محمد خان کے ساتھ انہوں نے کام کیا, تو NSF سے ہمارا ایک رشتہ تھا. اور اس کے بعد میرے کئی مقدمے مجھے شرف حاصل ہے کہ انہوں نے لڑے اور ان کے پاس تھے. تو اقبال حیدر صاحب ایک شاندار شخصیت تھے, اور یہ بالکل صحیح ہے کہ وہ سچ اور ایمانداری پر یقین رکھتے تھے, اور ایسے لوگ کم دیکھنے میں ملتے ہیں. اور میں یہ امید کرتا ہوں کہ ہمیں جو ہے وہ توفیق ہو کہ ہم بھی اقبال حیدر جیسے شاندار, سیکولر اور دیانتدار اور ایماندار آدمی بننے کی کوشش کریں, تاکہ اپنے وطن عزیز, اپنے وطن کا کچھ بہتری کر سکیں اس دیار غیر میں رہتے ہوئے. شکریہ.
Qadri, Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen. Recollection of joy is no longer joy, but memory of sorrow is sorrow still. Iqbal Haider, he was such a pleasant person. I knew him since 1965 when we started reading Taliban. And during that time, from that time until now, I found him very straightforward, honest, and very good personality. He had such a pleasant personality that even if you discuss with him something which you don't agree or he doesn't agree, but he will show his pleasant face all the time. I had some differences. I spoke to him with the differences, but he has always been pleasant. He went through a difficult time during Zia's period of fighting for democracy. And last time when he came here, I think it was in August, Mr. Qadri invited me for a dinner, and he also invited me. And during that period, I found him quite energetic, very good, and I never thought that he was going to leave us so soon. Well, ladies and gentlemen, much has been said about him, and a lot to say about him. And I think there must be some speakers. Thank you very much.
Now I'll ask Kumar Price, barrister and other.
Assalamualaikum, good evening. Well, they say that when women start talking, men can't get a word in. But I think this evening there was no problem at all for men to keep talking. I couldn't get a word in for a very long time. I'd like to welcome all my friends. There are so many people here that I know, and it's sort of very heartwarming for me to meet all of you in this building, because of course it's the Inner Temple and I'm a member of this inn, and I have been a member for a good 25 years, although I'm sure that number doesn't beat Qadri's membership at all. A lot of people have said a lot of things about Mr. Syed Iqbal, and I think what has really touched me the most is the fact that we shouldn't be here mourning him, but we should be celebrating his life. I didn't know him personally, but I think there are two things that have touched me about him, and for those two things, I'll always remember him. The first is that I'm a barrister and I deal with a lot of immigration cases, and everybody who comes from Pakistan, no matter what category, whether it's a student, even as visitors, they want to stay here. They want to extend their stay, they want to get indefinite leave, they want to get citizenship, and they never want to go back. And I have to say that I will always admire Mr. Iqbal because he went back. He went back to give something to his country, to change things there. And that's very admirable, because I don't think I'd be able to do that. I've lived in England since I was a child. It would be very difficult for me to go back. And the other thing that I really admire about him, and I have to say that quality also exists in people like Sibqat and a few of my other friends. One of the problems that we have is that when we acquire a few qualifications, we become full of self-importance, we become very full of ourselves, we treat other people differently who don't have the same qualifications. And I think the thing we have to remember about Mr. Iqbal with most fondness is his humility. Everybody who remembers him say he was a humble and a very pleasant man. And no matter how many qualifications we acquire, no matter what we do for anybody, no matter how proud we feel of ourselves for that, I think if we retain our humility, that is one thing for which people would always remember us. And on that note, thank you.
Now I'll ask Jodna Raza, who is the niece of Iqbal Haider. When Iqbal Haider came last time, he stayed at Jodna's house and we had to talk to him. Can I
I did not come prepared at all. I just came to participate and hear good things about him. And just want to add that we are so proud of him, of him as a public figure, of course. He contributed so much towards Pakistan, and cannot agree more that he was a wonderful public figure. But for us, the loss is a lot more personal. We have lost an amazing family member who was most generous in his time, affection, and he was the life of our family. Every function, every occasion would be vibrant because of him, and that's what we will miss the most. Of course, we are very proud of his public contribution, but for us, the loss is very personal. So that's all I can say.
Now I'm going to call somebody who is a good friend of mine, and I'm very grateful he's here. That is Mr. Muhammad Anwar. You know, and I'm him and I'm grateful to Al-Tabai, especially his son Salim Shahzad, who is here.
Assalamu alaikum and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Iqbal Bhai, I'm so grateful that you invited us to present our view. And I knew Mr. Iqbal Haider for a very long time. In fact, as a critic of the MQM, on the floors of the United Nations Human Rights Commission, session after session, I was there to highlight the violation of the government while he was defending the government. And indeed, having said that, recently he had come very close to MQM. And a night before his death, he had a very lengthy talk with Al-Tabai on the issues that our beloved country is confronted with: ignorance, parochialism, and extremism, Talibanization, sectarianism, and he was extremely concerned. Now, we have assembled here today, I believe, to pay tribute and homage to this great man. So therefore, I shall leave the politics alone for some other day. And MQM is indeed a political party and is engaged and would engage with political parties. And it is the job of the law enforcers to engage with gangs. So therefore, having said that he was a critic of the MQM, I admired, and Altabhai and the MQM admired this gentleman who was not simply a lawyer, a politician, a thinker, but he was, however, a great defender of human rights. And we cherished his attributes and his contribution during his lifetime, but we shall miss him greatly, that he is no longer amongst us, a great man who served the country, who served the nation, and indeed his death is an irreparable loss for our country, for the people of Pakistan, for disadvantaged people of Pakistan. Let's pray that may Allah Almighty rest his soul in Jannatul Firdaus and grant his family members, friends, strength to endure this great loss. I understand very much that the words cannot fill the vacuum created by his death. However, I hope that these words would prove to be a source of solace for his family and for you all. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much indeed.
I'm pleased to know that there's only one more speaker that I should be asking, and that is the Excellency Deputy High Commissioner. But before I ask him, and I've tried to avoid the general situation when you see in the meetings, the one who conducts comes and makes a mini speech and then calls somebody else against. I've not made any mini speeches, but I think I'll do a little bit because I forgot something. And that was personal thing. Because I met Iqbal Haider, very few of you, in 1967 when he came here. I'd done my part one of the bar in 1964. Then I was in BBC, I'd given up the bar. Then I had come back. That was the time when Ayub Khan was going down the hill. Mr. Bhutto was coming up, 67, 68. We, along with lots of Bengali friends, that means East Pakistani friends, were struggling against Ayub Khan. We were occupying Pakistan High Commissions in protest. He was with us, this young student who had come from Pakistan to do bar. He had joined Pakistan Student Federation with us, and we were protesting. And then simultaneously, this place, the Inns of Court, the School of Law, it was full of racism. I'm a bencher now here. I'm a QC. That time I was a troublemaker here. There were no students' unions. So we occupied the School of Law. We wanted no discrimination. The first time that the bar students were occupying, going on strike. Because in 68, Tariq Ali was doing, everybody was doing. So we said, we'll do something, just as a joke. It became very serious. Iqbal Haider was with us. And we struggled and we got the Inns of Court to establish a students' union. Lincolnson Students' Union, Iqbal Haider was elected as vice president. Inner Temple Student Association, I was elected the president and I defeated Mr. John Laws, he then was, now is Lord Justice Laws. So we worked together for betterment of students, for the black and Asian bar students here. So before he became a leader, before he joined any political party, he was with me struggling for the rights of minorities, for immigrants, for the people of Pakistan, against the basic democracy. So that was Iqbal Haider, and something you've heard all about him. The one thing that people have missed, he also was involved in the missing people's cases. That's something else. We have heard about bonded labor, but missing people cases. And then something else, and we have not talked. I'm sure there will be a lot of talk, I think, on Monday about it all, when Ashari Saab is having a meeting. But Iqbal Haider was a vocal exponent of the rights of Balochistan people. People in Balochistan, you know what's happened to them. Iqbal Haider, as a human rights champion, was talking all the time. You heard him on the TV, everywhere, lecture. He was involved in all these things, everything. And that's what we're missing. And God, as Anwar said, that we pray today that God give him, and I'm sure God Almighty would have rewarded him, because for a Muslim the most important thing is hukukul ibad. Allah will forgive you for any crime, any guna that you commit, because that is a guna against Allah. Even if you don't do prayers, don't do fasting, He may forgive you. But to deny the right of people, hukukul ibad, He will not forgive. So it's very important to fight for the rights of people. And that's what he did. With these words, I'll call the Deputy High Commissioner. You know, because the High Commissioner is not only representing the government of Pakistan, but when he was in Delhi, he tells me, Iqbal Haider used to come, and they became very good friends, and we used to talk all these matters. He'll tell you himself all about it.
Barrister Qadri Sahab, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum, good evening. I'll be very brief. I think we've heard a lot about Iqbal Haider from people who know him well or known about him very well and who are related to him. I'll just be brief, and I'll simply focus on one or two aspects which I personally had the privilege of, had the exposure, meaning to meet him. I was, as some of you may be aware, I was posted in Delhi in the Pakistan High Commission before coming to London. And there, I recall, I think about 3 years back, a group of Pakistani gentlemen came working for the release of Indian fishermen that Qadri Sahab alluded to, including Senator Iqbal Haider, Justice Nasir Zahid, Mr. Karamat Ali and others. So they were there in Delhi, and they were quite sort of helpful in getting those prisoners, fishermen especially, released. But then they came to the High Commission. And in the High Commission we discussed and we pointed out that there are similarly a very large number of Pakistani prisoners in Indian prisons who've been languishing in jails for many, many years. They've not only completed their sentences, they've been there for a very long time. And, you know, this is one highlights the character of a man. He said, all right, I have heard of this. I would be very happy to do whatever I can for them, if only I could get some more details. So we sat down in the High Commission with Senator Iqbal Haider and others and had a long discussion about it and gave him a lot of details. And I must say, during that same visit, Senator Iqbal Haider, whoever he met in the Indian government, including the Home Minister, Mrs. Sonia Gandhi, others, he brought up that issue. And I remember accompanying him to a meeting. We spent half a day at the Home Ministry in Delhi trying to seek the release of those Pakistani prisoners. So I can, when I hear of people talking of a man of integrity, a man of values, to me, I can say I can personally vouch for it.
Yes.
So while one may have, and he had a long and distinguished political career, and one could have differing views about politics, but that is the essence of democracy. And this is something that was very close to his heart. And thirdly, I found him a very amiable person, a very decent person, basically. So I join all of you and say that we can only remember him by remembering the values he stood for and working for them. I thank you very much once again. Yes, of course, I should have explained at the beginning. The High Commissioner was also going to be here this evening. He's out of London and he's on his way as we speak, coming back to London, and therefore we're running late and he could not make it an event almost over. But so thank you all.
Very briefly, I would like to thank you for attending and making the effort to attend this evening to remember this great man. Thank you very much.